I'm Al Goodman in Madrid. This will be the fourth time the Spanish Prime Minister, José Luis Rodríguez Zapatero, attends a G20 summit as a guest, but with a seat at the table, and he'll be making a speech. Zapatero recently has gotten support for Spain's economic austerity measures from President Obama, the European Union, and the International Monetary Fund. And Zapatero wouldn't mind a few more pats on the back at the G20 for Spain's deficit-cutting measures, which are unpopular at home. On the broader stage, Spain isn't expecting major breakthroughs at this G20 summit, but it hopes the summit will send a message of the world's leaders working hard to solve the global economic crisis.
I'm Jim Bitterman in Paris, and French officials are heading off for the G20 gathering, repeating a mantra we've heard here for some months now. Reduce public spending, reduce the debt, try not to disrupt the very fragile recovery, make sure the banks have liquidity, but better regulate their conduct so that they don't fall into the bad habits which contributed to the economic crisis in the first place. They are all points which will be brought to the table by the French. Unlike German officials who are advocating clear and firm austerity measures, French Minister of Finance Christine Lagarde told an interviewer recently that it's really a matter of walking a fine line between too little and too much intervention. In one specific area, though, both France and Germany will join forces to try to introduce an international tax on financial institutions and their transactions, a tax adjusted according to how much risk they're taking.
I'm Diana Magnay in Berlin. The German Chancellor has made it very clear that her top priority at Toronto is to move ahead with regulation of the financial markets. She and the French President Nicolas Sarkozy have written a joint letter to Stephen Harper, the Canadian Prime Minister, who's also chairing G20, calling for better regulation of the markets, calling for a banking levy and also a financial transactions tax. But what will be present in the background of this meeting is this continued debate over austerity versus growth. President Obama wrote his own letter to Stephen Harper, singling out some countries who were too export dependent, he said, and who weren't doing enough to stimulate domestic spending, a clear reference to so-called German austerity. Now, the German Chancellor has maintained that there is nothing in her recent savings programme that would suggest that she is stifling growth in the German economy. And it is a very clear government policy here that countries as a whole must wean themselves off financing themselves through credit.